Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you guys an update to my Naturia deck profile for October 2017. A lot of you have requested that I do an update to this deck. I think the last time I did an update for my Naturias was back in March, so been a good while, and I thought the deck was due for an update with Link Monsters now being a thing. It's really cool. This is Radiant really does help with the deck, just for some more options with your Earth monsters. But the whole point of the deck is more of a lockdown type of playstyle using Bamboo Shoot, Naturia Beast, and Barkion with a bunch of other different cards. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into the deck profile. Start off, I run 2 Naturia Bamboo Shoot. This card is your lockdown card of the deck, and after years of playing the deck, I've come to just like the 2 with the deck. He's searchable with some of the cards in the deck, and he's that type of play where you want to go for the lockdown, but running 3 of him can really screw you over, because you can end up with some dead draws with having too many Bamboo Shoot in the hand and no ways to get him out, because you have to tribute summon him to get his effect. While he is summoned by tributing a Naturia monster, while this card remains face up on the field, your opponent cannot activate spell or trap cards. That limits pendulum monsters, back row, field spells, you name it. They can't activate any of those as long as he's face up on the field. So that means your only worry is monster effects, which is still a pretty big threat nowadays, but taking out 2/3 of what your opponent can play can really help. And he stops cards like Bottomless Trap Hole, Torrential, and Wall that from activating, just for the fact that, you know, he hits the field and then the effect activates and they can't respond to it. And also, the biggest way to get rid of him is to obviously negate his summon with cards like Solemn Strike and Solemn Warning. And I also run 3 Naturia Cherries. This is the one of the best Naturias in the deck. When it's sent from the field to the graveyard by your opponent's card effect or by battle, by being destroyed, you can special summon 2 Naturia Cherries from your deck and face down defense. So a great way to have tribute fodder or synchro monsters to use for synchro summons is this card's effect, getting those 2 Naturias out. Once again, the biggest weakness, just like Bamboo Shoot, is drawing 2 of these cards and then just having the 1 to go into with the deck. But using cards like Naturia Marin can help to recycle and reuse if that ever does happen. Also 2, Naturia Cosmo Beat. This card special summons when your opponent normal summons or sets a monster, so you can have this card out during your opponent's turn if they end up going first, and then be able to go into Bamboo Shoot for the tribute on your next turn, since you'll already have your Naturia monster ready to go. And 2, Naturia Marin. This is your recycle card of the deck. When it's normal summon, you can send 1 Naturia monster from your deck to the graveyard, and once per turn, you can target 2 Naturia monsters in your graveyard, shuffle those targets back into the deck, and then draw 1 card. So you can basically, if you have 1 cherry left on the field after your opponent has either destroyed the first one and then you've used the other one for a resource, you can use Marin to shuffle the 2 that you've already used back into the deck, draw a card, and hopefully reuse them after the last cherries is taken care of. And that send effect is just to help with the recycle power of the second effect, since you might not have 2 Naturias in the graveyard to use for his recycle. And a new card I'm using, much easier to get now thanks to Battle of Legends, is Cactus Bouncer. This is a lockdown deck, and Cactus Bouncer is one of my favorite non-Naturia monsters to use in the deck. It cannot be special summoned, and while another plant monster is on the field, neither player can special summon monsters. So basically, if you have your other Naturia plant monster, which you have plenty of options to go with in this deck for plants, your opponent cannot special summon. So if you can get this card out with Bamboo Shoot, you have probably one of the best lockdowns you can think of. Without special summon monsters and only relying on a normal summon plus no activation of spell and traps, it's pretty difficult for your opponent to basically do anything, and you have to worry about back row with the attacks. Like I said, just monster effects to worry about. He helps really good with that lockdown, plus I love his 1800 attack stats, very good for a plant monster. And the only non-plant and insect-type monster for the Naturias that I run in the deck is Cliff. Cliff just helps you float into other monsters. When it's sent from the field to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 level 4 or lower Naturia monster from your deck and face up attack position. So you can go into another Cliff if need be, then follow suit with that final Cliff. And then if need be, you might take some damage, but cherries, and then they hit the cherries and you get 2 more cherries. So just a long chain of monsters that helps. Sadly, you miss timing if you use Cliff for a synchro summon, so you won't get the search. He has to be basically destroyed by card effect or by battle for his special summon effect to go off. And then onto the insect monsters that I run with the deck. I use insect and plant monsters because the best Naturia trap that we have, Sacred Tree, is way too good and to make use of. You can just shift in and out of your different Naturia monsters, building up your graveyard for Marin plays and other plays as well, and just grabbing better resources. So anyway, I run 2 Naturia Yugioh. I actually, put a lot of thinking into what should go into a Naturia deck, and after thinking about the type of decks we have now in the current format, Yugioh really, has a lot of potential to be good in the deck. He's a level 2 monster with attack and defense that's nothing to write home about, but his effect is when your opponent special summons a monster or monsters, you can special summon 1 level 3 or lower Naturia monster from your deck, and this isn't a once per turn effect, so either your opponent will normal summon, go straight into their battle phase, and hit into the Yugioh, which most of the time I will have resources to protect this card, or they will get off a pendulum summon, a link summon, multiple ways of special summoning, and by doing so and leaving this card out on the field, you will have your field swarm with plenty of Naturia monsters that we run in the deck that are level 3 or lower to make use of. Your field will be swarmed, and you'll have resources for synchro. He just mills through the deck so fast for your monsters, which I run around a 21 monster count kind of deck, but he just mills through it, and then you end up drawing cards that can later be used for back row grab, and I just love the way he play tested when I used him, and I'm just very surprised at myself that I didn't use him early on in games. He helps to set up for your lockdown play, which will later, stop them from special summoning, but having him alone just makes it so worth it. And 2 Naturia Fruit Flies. This is a attack lowering card, which helps very well with Bamboo Shoot as well. Since Bamboo Shoot only has 2,000 attack points, Naturia Fruit Fly, for every Naturia you control, your opponent's monsters lose 300 attack and defense, and then once per turn, you can target 1 monster your opponent controls with 0 defense. Take control of that monster until the end phase. Now, obviously with Link monsters, you can't take the Link monsters since they don't have defense, but the lower ability still is very good for other resources that you can take of, and if they already have a monster with 0 defense, you can just automatically grab that. I remember in the olden days I would always take Leviathan Dragon since it just had 0 defense, and then make use of it for myself, detaching the last material, attacking with it, and then giving them a Leviathan Dragon that couldn't attack directly. It was a long time ago though. And lastly for the monsters, 2 Naturia Butterfly. This card is just an effect negation, an attack negation card once per turn. So more protection. Remember, cards like Grand Mole used to be a big thing with Bamboo Shoot being the only play they could do, but Butterfly protected from that 1 attack by negating the attack. If you want to swap this out for Dragonfly, he is a power boost card, which is very possibly a card you can use instead of her, depending on the type of plays you like to get off. And that is it for monsters. We'll move on to spells. I run 2 Mark of the Rose with the plenty of plant monsters we run in the deck. You banish 1 plant from your graveyard, equip this card to a monster your opponent controls, take control of the equipped monster, and during your end phase, give control of the equipped monster to your opponent. Take powerful monsters from your opponent to make use of your own. I've always loved using this card. It's just very easy to make use of with plant monsters in the deck, gaining their monster and either using it for your own resources or, just using it for that easy attack power. Plus 1 for 1. This is for a special summon for a cherries, if need be, in the deck. Grab cherries, and then either use it for tribute fodder or, leave it on the field for its destruction combo plays. Just that option that I like to have. 2 Pot of Duality for more searches, grabbing what you need, depending on what the play you want to do is at that moment. And 1 Regeki, just for field clearing. Sometimes there are those pesky monsters that the effects of the Naturias alone just can't take care of, and this is a great card that comes in handy then. Low spell count just because I really prefer in this deck to go off of my monster effects and then have a strong trap lineup to protect my monsters. So 3 Naturia Sacred Tree. I was talking about this card earlier. It has the swap effect for level 4 or lower plant and insect type monsters. You can tribute an earth insect type monster to special summon an earth plant monster from the deck once per turn. You can tribute 1 earth plant type monster to special summon 1 level 4 or lower earth insect type monster from your deck. And when this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 Naturia card from your deck to your hand. Now if you wanted to test it out, you could take out the Pot of Dualities for Foolish Burial Goods, because sending this with goods would allow you to search for a Naturia monster quicker. It's that extra additional option that you could run with the deck. And also 3 safe zones. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the safe zone play, this card protects Naturia Bamboo Shoot if your opponent gets like bigger monsters out on the field and wants to attack over Bamboo Shoot with them. Just keeping it protected by effects and by battle. It can attack directly, but being in that lockdown state, you'll be able to regain other resources to use to do that. And also 1 Solemn Warning and 2 Solemn Strikes, just for that monster summon negation and effect activation that could, make or break their play. It's better to have these resources to take care of those monsters than cards like Bottomless Trap Hole or Torrential, because you don't want to get rid of your own monsters, and sometimes Bottomless just won't handle the problem as good as these cards. And you don't have any other cards in the effect in the deck that really take up life points, so that's your next best option. And then lastly, the cards that just protect from more attacks. Like I said, 2 Quaking Mirror Force. I like this card instead of Drowning because you don't really have... you don't want to be in too many situations where you don't have monsters on the field and they direct attack you. And cards like Blazing Mirror Force make it so you'll lose more life points, which using cards like Solemn Strike and Solemn Warning can really put you in a tight spot there. And lastly, 2 Mirror Force. I actually really like this card with the deck, just for, like I said, Quaking Mirror Force throws them down in defense, which is much easier for you to handle. But Mirror Force can take care of those destruction problems, which if you know what you're doing at that situation, you'll know when to activate this card and what monsters to destroy. And for the extra deck, I run 2 Naturia Beasts. This card negates spell cards when they're activated by milling the top 2 cards of your deck. Very easy to use, very easy to summon. Just, with the whole link summon limit, make sure you get your plays out right with this card. Same with the Barkion, which negates traps by banishing 2 cards from your graveyard. And then I also run 1 Shanbara for the level 5 plays for double attack. Comes in handy. Same with Omega. Black Rose Dragon is good because you can make use of her plant effect and not just her blow-up effect. 1 Queen of Thorns. It requires a tuner monster and then a non-tuner plant type monster. So each player must pay 1,000 life points to normal or special summon a non-plant type monster. Another good lockdown card for the deck. And 1 Goyle Guardian. This card was errated to use earth monsters, but still quite playable in this deck. And then for Exceeds, Slacker Magician, it was mostly here for that emergency cherry play if I have no other monsters to go off of. This is just a good, protection card to go off of. Most of the time I will make Mrs. Radiant instead, so I can just recycle a cherry back to my hand with its scent effect. 1 Malay of the Trees, just like her scent effect as well. Good with Marin Overlay. And also 1 Soul of the Silver Mountain, same concept for that. And for the last of the Exceeds, 1 Castel and 1 Tornado Dragon, just for basic staple Exceed monsters. And then for the Link monsters, I run 2 Mrs. Radiant, very easy to make in this deck. You just need 2 Earth monsters, which is the entire lineup of the deck. You'll have that option, you'll have that recycle power to add back to hand, you'll have those extra monster points for in the deck as well. Just a too good of a Link monster to fully abuse in this deck. I was very happy when I found out that Mrs. Radiant would be the first of these type of Link monsters for us to receive. It just gave me so many ideas that I worked so hard on this deck to achieve with that card. But yeah, that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Once again, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And until next time, Kira Twig out.